All right, time for some pre-cals. But before we get the pre-cals started, a message from our sponsor, your sponsor, React Health, formerly 3B Medical, a leading provider of sleep diagnostic, and respiratory products with their Luna 3G family of PAP devices that are FDA approved. We thank React Health for supporting the podcast and supporting SleepTechs everywhere. Thank you so much. With that, folks, what do we have going on over here today, guys? Robert.
Hey, we have Patrick Karem with us from Sovasage. There's a couple of different AI apps that are out there these days that are agnostic to manufacturer. And Patrick happens to work with a company called Sovasage as a VP of sales. And so I'm excited to hear, hey, we'll take all the tools that we can to make life easier for us and better for our patients. Because you know what the best CPAP mask is in the world?
The one the patient,
whatever the patient will use.
Right?
Yep.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
So
no, I think that's exciting. It's exciting to know that techs have another tool in their bag to actually get out there and bring better care to the patients. So this is going to be exciting to hear about.
Do you think there's going to be any references to the Matrix or anything like that in here because the whole AI thing is going on? Why are you shaking your head?
It's exciting living life with you. That's all I'm going to say.
All right, guys, on to the show.
Lights out.
Welcome, everyone, once again to another episode of SleepTech Talk, the Sleep Podcast, during this very special SleepTech Appreciation with your hosts and friends, Robert Miller, Emerson Kerr, and me, Dr. Jerry George Money Carode. We're really excited today to bring you another episode, but this time, before we get started, I'm going to tell you a little word from our sponsor, React Health, formerly 3B Medical, a leading medical provider of sleep diagnostic, and respiratory products. Their Luna G3 family of PAP devices are FDA approved and offer a cellular modem standard in the CPAP, AutoPAP bilevel, and bilevel ST models to treat a full range of sleep disordered breathing. The magnet-free line of PAP masks includes Siesta Full Face, Siesta Nasal, Rio 2 nasal pillow mask, all of which have less than 1% refit rate. Easy to fit. Please check out our sponsor, our friend, at reacthealth.com or contact your local React sales exec to learn more. We thank React Health for sponsoring our show and supporting the sleep tech community. With that, Robert, if you could tell us a little bit more about what's happening today.
Thanks, Jerry. So good to have everyone. Happy Sleep Tech Appreciation Week, by the way, for anyone out there who happens to work in our field. We've got with us today Patrick Karem. He is the Vice President of Sales and Marketing for Sovasage. They're an AI agnostic mask fitting software solution, and he's going to talk a little bit about how that can be utilized in a sleep lab. But just like always, we're going to start out the podcast today and let Patrick tell us a little bit about his history. By the way, if you guys remember the mask, the nasal layer, this is the guy from back in the day. Yep. And that one's been around for quite a long time. It was sort of the predecessor to Dreamwear. I think they probably broke some patents, I bet, Patrick. Anyway, we'll let you tell us a little bit about yourself and your history in the field, and then let's move on to the the main topic today, which is before Jerry cuts us off, because he tends to do that pretty quickly. And we'll talk a little bit about the use of the AI in the sleep lab.
Well, sleep, it's funny that I tell everybody I've been in sleep since the Civil War. It seems like I've been in it for a long time. It's actually been 31 years. I've done everything from helping techs set up labs to I was CEO of 3 different companies, as well as now I'm working with Sovasage, which is a mask fitting app that's manufacturer agnostic, that's available on your phone or a tablet. That is a great addition to any lab that's currently having trouble, especially with fitting masks. The principle behind it really is the mask fitting technology uses artificial intelligence, which is awesome. It actually came out of Carnegie Mellon University. Everybody remembers, if you've been in this business long enough, that masks, we used to be able to clean them and wash them and hang them up over the sinks and every place else, and reuse them and reuse them and reuse them and reuse them. Manufacturers would come to the labs and bring boxes and boxes of masks. So it was never an issue of having enough masks or the costs, because it was all pretty much free. Well, times have changed, obviously. You can no longer clean masks and hang them up, especially for the accredited labs. So
you mean soap and water doesn't make them sterile?
No, there was that funny thing called glutaraldehyde that they used to use. That I think you had hair back then, and that's what caused that. But
glutaraldehyde, please don't go there, man. Ooh.
Yeah,
I know. I remember.
Do you remember you would leave them in the glutaraldehyde so long that they would turn color, that the mask would change colors to whatever color?
They would. And you'd use them.
Disgusting.
You rinse them off and you use them again. Oh, the good old days. And then they came up with something better. But I mean, so those times have really changed for the labs. The labs now, they're forced to buy masks, which makes it a little bit more difficult for fitting patients, especially if you're doing a split night study. Time is of the essence. So if we can come up with a better way to fit these patients before they even come into the lab, it's going to speed up their time. It's going to speed up the study. It's really going to benefit the patient in the long run. And now a lot of the labs that we work with maybe have 2, 3, 4 masks tops. You can't really fit every patient with 3 or 4 masks. You really do need to have a bigger inventory of masks, 5, 10 masks, 10 masks at least, so you can fit every possible scenario that would come in. The nice thing about the artificial intelligence software like that we have at Sovasage is that we also eliminate any therapy bias. A lot of times you might find a therapist who may says, full face mask on everybody. Well, sometimes that's not the case, especially if they're like me, and it took me forever to learn to wear CPAP. I am extremely claustrophobic and I wear a full face mask now, but when in my first study, they tried to put a full face mask on me and I fought it the whole night. So we never did have a good study. I ended up taking it home and doing a study at home. So if you can eliminate the patient bias, add more masks to their inventory and still keep the cost down, that's where the artificial intelligent mask fittings app comes in. It does allow you to fit the patient, do it. You can do it before he comes to the lab via smartphone, sending him out a text. Or we do have a number of labs in the country right now who are actually, patient walks in, they give them a tablet to fill out all their paperwork on a tablet. They also go ahead and do a mask assessment right on the tablet. Takes about 3 or 4 minutes, and with our software, instantaneously it comes back and shows what 4 nasal masks, what 4 full face masks, and what 4 nasal pillows will fit that patient. So they know ahead of time what's going to fit that patient without even having to show them any masks. So it's go ahead.
Hey, Patrick, I do think that is a problem a lot of times, that the mask that gets used for the patient and the titration that was successful in helping them to achieve the optimal pressure doesn't always translate to, that patient being set up on CPAP therapy. So I think that this is a great way to be able to identify the right mask, and then and not just the mask, but also other masks have as sort of backups if there become issues with that particular mask. But this certainly ties the CPAP titration to the actual patient experience in the home.
It really does. And if you think about it too, a split night study, if you remember way back when we used to do split night studies, they'd have to go in and fit the patient in the middle of the night with a mask and take in 5 or 6, 7 different masks. Now they don't have to do that. They know what's going to fit them ahead of time. And as soon as that patient, if he's in for a split night, is done with doing the study, they can automatically walk in with the correct mask, with the correct fit, and that patient is going to probably be able to tolerate that. The other thing about the mask titration products that are out there, as far as the AI software, is that at least like ours does 3 separate photos of the patient's face. Nobody else does that. So we take one from each side and one from the face, all in the same picture. and then we make sure that all three of those match together. So again, the optimal goal is to find a mask that's going to fit that particular patient, that's going to reduce this leak, it's going to increase compliance, and it's going to increase the fit. And it's going to have a fit ratio of somewhere around 95%, which is really, really good.
And Patrick, one of the things that I know just from my years at Philips is a lot of the techs out there have been, introduced to the 3D version they have.
Mhm.
When it comes to these technologies like this, what's different? How do you guys separate yourself from the competition to provide, a different value? Clearly there's an agnostic piece, but what else do you feel like you're providing the technologist, the clinician, that separates you from the pack?
Well, we try to make the therapist's job easier because we are extremely accurate in our fit. Like I said, we're over the 95 percentile in mask fitting. So I've developed masks. My principal, my CEO, was a developer of masks at Philips. The other big thing is because we are agnostic, we can have anybody's masks in the country into the software, whatever the patient wants or the therapist wants, we can put it into the app for them. So it helps reduce inventory. Obviously, it speeds up time, and most therapists can do about 5 or 6 maybe setups per day. Using like our Sovasage software, we kick that up to about 10%, 10 or 11 setups per day. So it really speeds up their time and their efficiencies, as well as giving that patient the best or optimal fit.
Well, such a cost savings too, because when you begin thinking about, and Robert knows this better than we do, but the operational cost around disposables like that is extraordinary. It may not seem like it to the sleep tech, but for someone who's responsible for the bottom line, the going through those disposables is very burdensome to the budget on that. What sort of savings have you been able to recognize? And as you've shared this with Sleep Labs, what have been some of the highlights that you've been able to show them?
Well, we have most of the labs that we have worked with and that I've worked with in the past have somewhere around a 40% throwaway rate of masks, which is extremely high. By using artificial intelligence and mask fitting software like we have, they eliminate that. The throwaway rate it's less than 1% now, because we know how good the fitting is using artificial intelligence. And that's going to save a tremendous amount of money.
Patrick, so with that being said, if we look over on the other side, which is compliance, which you spoke of, could you tell us a little bit about compliance rates and how this helps in regards to compliance? Because all of us are looking at long-term aspects of the patient and their quality of life when they're CPAP.
Well, that's one of the Emerson was asking earlier about some of the differences. Well, one of the things that makes us different is that we provide 4 nasal, 4 full face masks, 4 nasal pillows. So we really give the patient a choice, a much broader choice. If they choose the first mask on the list, which is usually the optimal or the absolute best fit mask for that patient, we're running about 94% compliance rate with those. So a lot of especially the newer people are a little more tech savvy, so they understand what AI is, what it does, and how it can actually complement them when it comes to selecting a mask.
So I've got to ask this question. I'm already laughing, but when you said a lot of the newer people who are tech savvy, so those that are not, are they afraid that because a computer has selected this, that the mask is going to eat them or something like that? Do you have any?
It's funny you say that, because we have had a few people who come in like, what's a computer's going to choose it for me, or my phone? Like, tell me this flip phone's going to choose. I'm like, no, that won't work. It has to be a smartphone. But we had people try with a flip phone. Believe it or not, there's still people out there who use it. But again, it's what the AI fitting software does. It eliminates any bias whatsoever, because it's taking a computer is generating this way and this way using our software, so you're getting the absolute best fit possible.
Patrick, let me ask you this, for Robert and Jerry, they're both in the home care provider side of the business. For companies that do provide, that is there an opportunity to use the product for patients that are homebound, that maybe there's some type of remote setup? Do you see that as a part of what you guys offer?
Well, with COVID, it's just COVID coming back around. As I keep hearing, more and more people have it. There is definitely opportunities for remote setups, or somebody who has COVID or somebody who is homeward bound. They can, as long as they can turn on a smartphone, or maybe a grandkid can turn on a phone for them, they can use it. You can also do it computer-based, where you can literally talk to the patient just like we are on the phone, input their answers into the computer. It's about 7 or 8 questions. All they have to do is take a selfie and send it in, and it's done. The other real advantage to it, from a sleep lab perspective also, sometimes there's a little bit of transfer differences when you're writing the script and getting it over to the home care provider. We actually at Sovasage have a program where the sleep lab can send it automatically to the home care provider as long as they're participating, and it will actually take the masks that the DME has and see if there's a better fit than what the lab had. So they may even get a better fitting mask from the DME than they used at the lab.
So, Patrick, where could people learn a little bit more about the product and the company?
You can go to www.sovasage, which is SOVASAGE.com. We're usually at the World Sleep Congress, at the sleep meetings in the U.S. A lot of the regional sleep meetings are here. Like I said, in our company, we have over 100 years of experience. Not just me, because I'm not that old, but I'm getting there.
Hey, you said Civil War.
I did, it was like 1866, I think,
So you're getting close.
Yeah, that's what the gray hair shows. But and it's definitely changing industry, and everybody, I was just thinking about this earlier. Remember when we used to do studies on paper? Does anybody remember paper in the labs? So technology is here to stay. It's making things a lot more efficient. I think you're going to see some newer technologies coming in the labs very, very soon as far as trying to track compliance. So we're pretty excited about where the future is going.
Well, Patrick, I thought Robert was going to say something because he normally interferes and has something.
Yeah, well, he never shuts up.
Yeah, no. So
True story. True story.
But Patrick, we are getting out of time. Is there anything that we haven't touched on that you'd like to illuminate before we close?
Don't be afraid of technology. Some of the therapists are thinking, well, this is going to take their job, or it's going to make their life harder. It's actually not. The AI technology is going to make your job easier. It's going to make the sleep lab definitely more efficient, and it's going to increase compliance for the patients.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Patrick. We sincerely appreciate you joining us and telling us a little bit more about the technology. This has been awesome. I mean, you're bringing the tech into SleepTech, so thank you so much for that.
My pleasure.
And folks out there, all our viewers and listeners, we thank you so much. We appreciate you, especially during the SleepTech Appreciation Week, for joining us. And please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with all other SleepTechs out there. And until next time, we want to say, lights on. All right, time for some post-cals. Before we calibrate or recalibrate, let's have a word from our sponsor, React Health, formerly 3V Medical, a leading provider of sleep diagnostic, and respiratory products. Their Luna G3 family of PAP devices are FDA approved, and they offer a cellular modem standard in CPAP, APAP, bilevel, and bilevel ST models to treat a full range of sleep disorder breathing. The magnet-free line of PAP masks include the Siesta Full Face, Siesta Nasal, and Rio 2 Nasal Pillows mask, all of which have less than 1% refit rate. Makes it easy to get on your patients. Visit our sponsors at reacthealth.com or contact your local React sales executive to learn more. We thank React Health for supporting the podcast and supporting SleepTechs and the industry out there worldwide. So guys,
Hey, even better, we'll have Todd York with React Health on a podcast coming up. So stay tuned.
yeah, exactly. That will be fun and interesting to hear.
Absolutely.
So what do you guys think of today's show?
I don't know. Is this the serious part of the? Are we supposed to be serious during the post cows, or is that during the opening credits of the thing? Because we've been cutting up today on a lot of the different with a few of our guests and had a lot of fun. We had some fun with Patrick in between the recording and the ending session. So great stuff from him today. You know, again, I'll take all the technology that you can throw at me that's going to make my job easier as a sleep tech and make the patient experience better. So, you know, I'm definitely a fan and hope that you know, we'll see more AI in the future.
I think it's going to make a big difference. It was really cool to hear what he said. You know, he was talking about taking a picture on the front and other side. I'm used to that. I've done it before. I've done this before.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
But that's, you know, that's in a different so, hey,
yeah, your mug shot, it's very inspiring.
And those of you who are on the podcast, go to YouTube to see what just happened. So
right. Well, you know, I think that what's great about what Patrick and those guys are doing is they're continuing to bringing innovation to the sleep tech and even the DME world of how we can make getting patients on therapy easier. And you know, when you can have those kinds of that kind of technology to bring a better fit for the interface, I mean, it's just so hard. You know, we know that adherence is so terrible, especially after a year. I mean, we all tend to talk about adherence at 90 days, but when you get past that and you start looking at a year out, the attrition is terrible.
you're right.
And so when you can think that there's this kind of technology where we could have that, you know, we used to say this back in the day of Respironics, that great first impression, you know, that kind of technology helps with that. And it's exciting to see what these guys are doing.
I'm very excited to hear about that because, you know, I think all of us would agree, and as well as the listeners and viewers out there, it's about patient outcomes. We want these patients to get better. This is truly a craft where people literally feel better overnight change. They tell you a day and night difference, you know, no pun intended, but that's actually what happened. But to keep it on long term so that they incrementally get better each and every day while they're using this, it's great to see that the technology is getting to that point where it will facilitate that.
Yeah. 100%.
Hey, you know, one of the things that he said I thought that was key was you know, that the app takes away the bias of the practitioner, you know, the therapist or the tech, because I know, and you guys know, I mean, ask yourself the question: did you ever ask your patient if they were claustrophobic before you put a mask on them?
No,
maybe, but not regularly, right?
Yeah.
You know, so I think that's something that's pretty important, because as a sales rep too, in a former life, I would get frustrated with sleep labs where I would go and they were, you know, it was everybody gets a full face mask, or we don't use full face mask, or, you know, whatever the case might be. But it was frustrating that they should open themselves up to whatever the patient, you know, can tolerate. That certainly would have been a better approach, I think.
Oh, I agree 100%. I mean, that bias it's interesting you said that, because I'm sure you guys have heard this. I'm sure the techs have heard this, and some techs are guilty of this. I was guilty of this at one time. You would ask patients, are you a mouth breather? And then slap on a full face. But the truth is they're breathing through their mouths because they can't get the air through their nose. Simple as that. But once you pop them, the mouth closes eventually or immediately. So there's no need for that. So to take away that bias and everybody gets a medium mask or a full face mask, that's a good thing for each and every patient, right? With that being said, you guys, red pill or blue pill?
Always the red pill.
Look at Robert, he's just shaking.
Yes. Yes. No comment.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Until next time, cheers. Thank you all so much. We'll see you on the next episode Happy Sleep Tech Appreciation Week.